breaking news from around your world on this Thursday, March 15th, 2018. I'm Larry Rice. The Trump administration accused Russia on Thursday of a concerted operation to hack the United States energy grid and other critical infrastructure, including aviation, and separately imposed sanctions on a raft of Russian officials for alleged high-tech interference in the 2016 American presidential election. The moves were the strongest to date against Russia by the administration, which critics have complained is being soft on Moscow. U.S. national security officials said the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and intelligence agencies had determined that Russian intelligence and others were behind a broad range of cyber attacks beginning a year ago that have infiltrated the energy, nuclear, commercial, water, aviation, and manufacturing sectors. The officials said the Russian hackers chose their targets, obtained access to computer systems, conducted network reconnaissance of systems that control key elements of the U.S. economy, and then attempted to cover their tracks by deleting evidence of their infiltration. The U.S. government has helped those industries kick out the Russians from all systems currently known to have been penetrated, according to the officials, but the efforts continue. The officials left open the possibility of discovering more breaches and said the federal government was issuing an alert to the energy industry to raise awareness about the threat and improve preparation and protection. President Donald Trump joined the leaders of Britain, France, and Germany in a joint statement blaming Moscow for the poisoning of an ex-Russian spy living in England. It looks like the Russians were behind it, Trump said during a meeting at the White House with Ireland's Prime Minister Leo Varadkar. The president said he had been in contact with British Prime Minister Theresa May about the incident, calling it a very sad situation that the United States is taking very seriously. Reaction from Russia was swift. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Rybakov said Moscow was greeting the sanctions calmly, but he warned that Russia has already started to prepare a response. He suggested the Trump administration had timed the sanctions to come ahead of this weekend's presidential election in Russia, in which President Vladimir Putin is expected to win an overwhelming victory. The list of Russians now under U.S. sanctions include the 13 indicted last month by U.S. Special Counsel Robert Mueller as part of his Russia-related investigation into alleged election interference. The sanctions are the first use of the new powers that Congress passed last year to punish Moscow for meddling in the presidential election. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said others would face punishment in the future under the new sanctions law to hold Russian government officials and oligarchs accountable for their destabilizing activities. Thousands of Syrian civilians fled from a rebel pocket in eastern Ghouta Thursday, crossing by foot to army positions in the first mass exodus from the besieged enclave since Syrian government forces launched an assault to capture it a month ago. Men, women, and children staggered under the weight of blankets, bags, and suitcases as they walked along a dirt road to army lines on the outskirts of Hammurabi. Some wept. One man carried a baby in a suitcase, the child's head and arms peeking out through the zipper. Others reached government positions in the nearby town of Beit Sawah in wheelchairs. Refugees said they'd been trapped in basements, cellars, and tunnels and did not dare come out. One man said, "We could not do anything. There was no food, no water, no electricity, no education for the children." Another man said he had been in contact with people in Army territory for days, trying to arrange safe passage out. Saudi Arabia will develop nuclear weapons if its arch-rival Iran does so, according to remarks from the kingdom's crown prince released on Thursday, raising the prospect of a nuclear arms race in a region already riven with conflict. In an interview that will air in full on Sunday, Prince Mohammed bin Salman told CBS News, Saudi Arabia does not want to acquire any nuclear bomb, but without a doubt, if Iran developed a nuclear bomb, we will follow suit as soon as possible. The Sunni Muslim kingdom has been at loggerheads with revolutionary Shiite Iran for decades. The countries have fought a long-running proxy war in the Middle East and beyond, backing rival sides in armed conflicts and political crises, including in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. Prince Mohammed, who also serves as Saudi defense minister, said last year that the kingdom would make sure any future struggle between the two countries is waged in Iran, prompting Iranian threats to hit back at most of Saudi Arabia except the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. Riyadh has criticized the 2015 deal between world powers and Tehran, under which economic sanctions on Iran were lifted in return for the Islamic Republic curbing its nuclear energy program. U.S. sanctions will resume unless President Trump issues fresh waivers to suspend them on May 12th. Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte said Wednesday that his country plans to withdraw from the International Criminal Court over that body's decision to start an investigation into possible crimes against humanity in his war on drugs. Since Duterte took office in May 2016, police are believed to have killed more than 4,100 drug suspects, although the nation's police deny murder allegations. On Friday, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Zeid Ra'ad al-Hussein, said Duterte needed psychiatric evaluation and that his attacks against human rights activists were unacceptable. Duterte called the criticism outrageous. Connor Lamb, a Democrat and former Marine, held on to a 627-vote victory out of nearly 230,000 ballots cast after nearly all of the absentee ballots were counted in a special House election in a deeply conservative district in Pennsylvania. President Trump won that district by 20 percentage points in 2016, and outside GOP groups pumped more than $10 million into the race to support Republican Rick Saccone. Local election authorities said there were still about 500 provisional, military, and other absentee ballots remaining to be counted, not enough to alter the result. Republicans are gearing up for a court fight to demand a recount. The Republican National Committee said it was not conceding anything. Attorney General Jeff Sessions is considering a recommendation made by the FBI Office of Professional Responsibility to fire former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe for improperly handled elements of an investigation into the Clinton Foundation, according to a report in the New York Times. The internal review found that McCabe improperly authorized FBI officials to share sensitive information with journalists, then misled investigators in an internal review. Lack of candor is a firing offense in the agency, but ousting him could prove controversial. McCabe is due to retire on Sunday when he qualifies for full pension benefits. He's also been a target of President Trump's ire over other matters and is a potential witness into the inquiry into whether Trump tried to obstruct the Russia investigation. CNBC commentator and conservative economist Larry Kudlow said Wednesday that President Trump has selected him to replace Gary Cohn as the top White House economic advisor. Kudlow said, "The president offered me the position last evening and I accepted." The White House promptly confirmed the news that Trump was nominating Kudlow to lead the National Economic Council. Kudlow has long been close with Trump, and his selection was interpreted as part of an ongoing effort by Trump to surround himself with like-minded advisors. Cohn, a Democrat and globalist, stepped down after a clash over Trump's new steel and aluminum tariffs. Kudlow also warned the tariffs could harm U.S. workers, but he was a key advisor on tax cuts during Trump's campaign. President Trump will sit down with billionaire Microsoft founder and philanthropist Bill Gates on Thursday. The two are scheduled to meet Thursday afternoon inside the Oval Office, according to Trump's public schedule released by the White House. A spokesperson for Gates did not immediately respond to a request for comment about what will be discussed. However, a source familiar with the agenda told CNN that foreign aid will likely be a topic of discussion. Gates and his wife Melinda spoke out against Trump's proposed cuts to foreign aid in the 2018 annual letter for their philanthropic foundation, saying U.S. efforts to combat disease and poverty abroad saves lives, creates U.S. jobs, and makes Americans more secure. Trump and Gates will also likely talk about funding for scientific research, according to CNN's source. Gates has emphasized the importance of these investments in prior meetings with Trump and encouraged the president to back an innovation agenda supporting research in health, education, and energy. The meeting is closed to the news media. Gates previously met with Trump in December 2016 at Trump Tower and again last March. Toys R Us plans to close or sell all 800 of its U.S. stores, according to media reports. The toy store chain said in a bankruptcy court filing Thursday that it had to liquidate and start winding down U.S. operations. The move would affect as many as 33,000 employees, but the company told employees the closures would not occur all at once. The toy store chain also is closing all 100 of its outlets in the UK. Once the dominant toy retailer in the U.S., Toys R Us has been struggling for years against other big box stores and online rivals. It filed for bankruptcy protection 6 months ago, struggling to find a way to pay down nearly $8 billion in debt. iHeartMedia, the largest radio station owner in the United States, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on Thursday, reaching an in-principle agreement with creditors to more than halve its $20 billion in debt. The company said it reached the agreement with holders of more than $10 billion of its outstanding debt that would restructure its balance sheet by transferring 94% of the stock in the reorganized company to its lenders. iHeartMedia has struggled with debt that was taken on to finance a $17.9 billion leveraged buyout in 2008 of what was then Clear Channel Communications. That deal closed just as a financial crisis began to undermine the U.S. economy. In the years that followed, iHeartMedia, the operator of 849 radio stations, has faced intensifying competition for advertisers and listeners from internet platforms and music streaming services. The company said in a statement it was seeking to maintain business as usual during the bankruptcy and to uphold its commitments to its staff. iHeartMedia employs 12,400 people, according to court records. The filing comes less than 4 months after Cumulus Media Incorporated, which operates 445 U.S. radio stations, filed for Chapter 11. And that's your update for this Thursday, March 15th, 2018. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening, and have a wonderful day.